computer. Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wa salatu wa salam ala rasulillah. Welcome to the Aqidah course, the Aqidah Tahawiyyah. We're in the fourth, I guess, session, or the third. This is the fourth, right? Session about the Aqidah. I will start with a story and tell me if you think that this story is related to you or if you know it before a little bit. So, there was upon a time, have a seat. There was a baby boy who was lost in a jungle. Okay, a baby boy who was lost in a jungle. And that baby boy was found by a deer. And that deer, that animal or a gazelle or something, breastfed that baby boy, who started speaking the language and communicate with his mother, nursing mother, and communicating with other animals around him. He got older, living by himself without contacting people, just dealing with animals. Now, is this story familiar to you? What does it remind you with?
Maybe you're sharing.
Mowgli in Arabic, okay, Mowgli, or in English, the Jungle Book, right? The Jungle Book, right? Yeah, and there's like fight with animals. I'm talking about the first part of the story. That's a baby boy who grows up away from civilization, away from people, growing with animals in the jungle. I believe it that this is a philosophical story that Ibn Tufail authored a long time ago to prove that the humans can reach, using their reasoning and using their senses, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He named this story Hayy bin Yaqthan. He named the story Hayy bin Yaqthan. So Hayy bin Yaqthan, instead of Hayy bin Yaqthan, is a baby boy who was put in a basket or a box or somewhere because his mother was afraid from her brother. He was a king and she married without his permission. So when she gave birth, she put the baby boy in a box and she put it in the sea and she carried it all the way to a jungle. And it happened that there was a deer looking for her baby, missing baby, and she heard the voice of that baby crying. She came to that box that was already like wet with the water. She kicked it and the baby was there. She breastfed and the baby started growing. And he went through some stages. The first stage was just like a baby growing up in normal observations for 7 years. And his mother, the deer, died. And he came to the body and he wanted to know, out of the curiosity, to know what happened or how did it die. So he started cutting the body, trying to see until he got the heart, and he tried to see the secret why it died. Then in the next stage, he started observing things around him. And he realized finally that all existence, trees, animals, the substance is the same, but the manifestations are different. What does that mean? All of them are created from the substance, the matter. All of them come to existence, and after a while, they die and decompose. So their beginning and their end, they're created somehow, then they have a life, and after that, they decompose and they die ago. So he realized that everything around him, around the universe, is created from somehow substance, and that was created somehow, then it goes away. Then he grew older and he started thinking more and more, observing the sky and astronomy. Then after that, he got older and he became a little bit more, became mature, and he started looking around him for like the existence of life, where we came from and where we are heading to. And he developed the idea that we are moving from this place to another place, and we wish there is something in depth in our hearts looking to see the one who created us. the one who made us. And later on, I guess the first person that he met when he was in his 30s, like in his 30s, beginning, when he met you, like the first person. Now, the point of Ibn Tufail, the author is Ibn Tufail. It is an allegorical novel, okay? Novel that has philosophical, it means philosophical ideas about the existence of the humans and whether humans can reach. If we imagine we take somebody, a baby boy, a boy or a girl that is born, and we put them in isolation, no prophet, no messenger, no contact with anyone, can that baby realize that Allah created the universe or not? So the fitrah that is in our heart, and our brain and our senses, can they lead us to believe that there is one who created Allah, created us, which is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala or not? This is one of the positions of Muslim scholars who believe that human beings are created like a blank paper with nothing on their brain, nothing. The fitrah is a kind of mechanism in their heart. Are you following me? It is a mechanism in their hearts that leads them, like to discover and to believe that there is superior power and superpower, like that is stronger than us. So this is the fitrah that they believe in. And they believe that through senses, what we see, what we smell, what we hear, and what we touch, and what we taste, the five senses, somebody uses them in the right way with the rational judgment, then he will conclude that Allah is the creator. Yeah, it was a philosophical book, this jungle book. And what is the name of the guy, the hero of this novel? Hayy bin Yaqthan. Hayy bin Yaqthan is the main character, and the author is Ibn Tufail. He was in Al-Andalus in the 12th century. And that story was translated into Latin and other languages, and it influenced many philosophers in the Western world, who were impressed by the ability of this, Tufail to create a story that has allegorical meaning about who created us and humans' ability to reach. So, according to Ibn Tufail, even if there is no prophet, Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam or other prophets, humans, when they use their rational judgment and their senses, they will reach a conclusion that Allah created this universe and we will go back to Him. So they will realize everything that the Messenger, the basics, the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam brought us. Now, do they realize how to do salah and how to do no? The details, how to worship Allah, they don't know. They need a prophet. They need a prophet, to tell them about the details. But the essence is there with them. Okay, so what we studied so far is the first statement, and still we are discussing it. Maybe today we'll move to the second and the third. We are studying Al-Aqidah Tahawiyyah. Al-Aqidah Tahawiyyah. And I want someone to read for me the Arabic and someone to read the English. Let me read for you the first 5 phrases in Arabic. Then after that, I need somebody to repeat in Arabic and 2 people to read in English. Okay? So Imam Hayy says, نقول في توحيد الله معتقدين بتوفيق الله إن الله واحد لا شريك له ولا شيء مثله ولا شيء يعجزه ولا إله غيره قديم بلا ابتداء دائم بلا انتهاء. موسى.
نقول في توحيد الله معتقدين بتوفيق الله إن الله واحد لا شريك له ولا شيء مثله ولا شيء يعجزه ولا إله غيره قديم بلا ابتداء دائم بلا انتهاء.
بسم الله. Ayan, can you read the English?
We say about the Tawheed of Allah, monotheism, believing in Allah's self, that Allah is one without any partners, and there is nothing like Him. There is nothing that can overwhelm Him, and there is no God other than Him. He is the eternal without a beginning and the everlasting without end.
عثمان.
Music. You say about Tawheed of Allah, monotheism.
Monotheism.
Monotheism. Believing in Allah's help that Allah is one without any partners. And there is nothing like him. There is nothing that can overwhelm him. And there is no God other than him. He is the eternal without beginning.
The eternal.
The eternal without beginning, or the ever
and ever.
And the everlasting without end.
Without an end. Okay, sounds good. So this is the first and the most important thing. Inna Allah wahidun la sharika lah. That Allah is one without any partner. Okay, so this is what we are focusing. Let me just wrap up a little bit and increase add more to the knowledge that we have, inshallah. So Tawheed means believing in Allah as Wahid. Huwa Allahu Ahad. This is where the name came from. Okay? And what is the difference between Wahid and Ahad? Remember? Qul huwa Allahu Ahad, not Qul huwa Allahu Wahid. Qul huwa Allahu Ahad. You remember the difference between Wahid? Okay, and Wahid means one, too. So what is the difference? Musa, Uthman, Ahad and Wahid. What is the difference?
One and only.
One and only one. So Ahad kind of unique. There is no other similar. One means maybe there is another one. Okay, so he's one. Yes, but Ahad means one and only one. The only unique God. So this is a very powerful statement. And Bilal, when he used to be tortured by Umayyah bin Khalaf and the leaders of Quraysh, he used to say, you remember when they used to put a rock on his chest and press him on the hot sand, he would say, Ahadun. Ahad, Allah is one and only one. I don't believe in other gods. So this is the name Tawheed. The Tawheed is the essence of the message of all the prophets and messengers. All the prophets and messengers came with the same message, saying that, all people, you are created by Allah, worship Him alone. O my people, worship Allah alone. There is no other deity, there is no other God, there is no other deity but Him. So that is the message of all the prophets and messengers, including Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. In this sense, Muhammad did not bring any new religion, because his religion is similar to the previous religions of all the prophets and messengers. And there are many of them. We know 25 that are mentioned in the Quran. And we have others that we are not sure about their names, that may be mentioned in some ahadith or some of the historical stories. But Allah sent more than 142,000 prophets and messengers. Many. And Banu Israel used to be presided over by a prophet after a prophet. They used to be the prophets and messengers. They used to be the political leaders, like Sayyidina Musa, Sayyidina Sulaiman, Sayyidina Dawud. So Banu Israeli prophets, there are many of them, and each one had the leadership of the religious side and the political side. All of them came with the same message: all people worship Allah alone, no God but Him. Okay, so this is the Tawheed. Is it important? It is. It is the first step, the core of Islam, and the essence of our life. All of our life is for this: La ilaha illallah. There is no God to be worshipped but Allah. This is the most important thing. Even before somebody starts his prayer, he should believe in that. So, sometimes we have some non-Muslim friends who come here and they want to observe the Salah, and sometimes they like to perform the Salah. And we tell them that, okay, you want to perform the Salah, try to pray by yourself at the back of the masjid. Sometimes if they have a friend or something, I say, you pray at the very end of the line. Because usually they don't have the shower, the full shower of janaba. So I say, okay, at the end of the line. Now that salah is not accepted. That salah is not accepted. They want to try it, they're very welcome to try it. But La ilaha illallah, no God but Allah, should come before the salah. Okay? If somebody all of his life is praying and fasting and all of that without believing in Allah, without saying, oh Allah, I am doing this for you and I want your reward, that will not count. I will reward him in this life maybe, but nothing for him in the hereafter at all. This is the essence of our life, and it is the essence the main call of all the prophets and messengers. Scholars say the first duty, first wajib, on any rational adult, any adult, is to believe that there is no God but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. However, if somebody is still a kid, or when he gets older, there is no need for him to repeat Shahada because he grows up with it. But if somebody comes from outside, we tell him that number one, you have to believe in Allah. So if somebody says, okay, I want to be a Muslim with you guys, but I want you not to, in the beginning, I want to serve my religion, whatever religion he has, and I start attending Ramadan with you, fasting. And I received a call actually, like somebody in the beginning of the last Ramadan. He wants to observe fasting every day. But he's not doing it for the sake of Allah. He's doing it, like for diet reasons. He wants to be healthier, and he heard that the fasting of Muslims, like is good. He wanted to try it. Okay, we can, like try it. But we tell people that number one, you should say La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah. Then later on, you start the teachings of Islam. This is the focus. And when you raise your kids in the future, when you are studying, this is the reason why we are created. Allah created us to do what? Worship Him. Anyone knows the ayah about that? We are created only to worship Allah. Anyone? وَمَا خَلَقْتُ الْجِنَّ وَالْإِنسَ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ. I did not create, Allah says in the Quran, Surah Al-Dariyah, I did not create humans, I did not create humans or jinn except to worship me. Okay. Tawheed and Fitrah. I mentioned in the beginning the story of Hayy bin Yaqthan. You remember the story of the guy who was lived in a jungle and like a deer fed him, and how Ibn Tufail, a Muslim scholar, wanted to prove that humans reach a conclusion that Allah created us. Now the Fitrah. I'm going to write the translation of the hadith for you and try to understand it, because there are, okay, let me see what you understand it from this hadith. Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam says, every human being, every human being is born with fitrah. Okay, every human being. So even the children of non-Muslims. Okay, then his parents make him a Christian or a Jew, or what do you call that religion, or Majusi, or the you say that religion? Zoroastrian. The fire. And a part of them, they believe in the darkness, the God of darkness and the darkness. Okay, مجوسي يمجسان in عربي. Okay, فأبواه كل مولود يولد على الفطرة. أبواه يهودانه أو ينصرانه أو يمجسانه. So what is this fitrah? So by default, any person who is born in America or anywhere in the world, by default, the original faith in his heart, or he is born with fitrah. Before he becomes a Christian, his family baptize him, right? You know that they have baptized, they put them in water, like some part, or pour some water, like on them. Like this is like baptism when they like claim him that he is like a Christian before. So what is fitrah? Is it Islam? Every human being is born with Islam, believing that Allah is the only one, or it is something else? What is fitrah?
It's like kind of like belief.
Huh?
Like believing something. He just doesn't know it.
Okay.
Is it?
So fitrah is instinct, okay, or the innate way of life. Okay. So believing in Allah, you mean?
Yeah, kind of, but like don't like really like understand. Like they don't remember like anything about it.
When they get older, they don't remember anything. Okay.
No, like how
Like
like us, like how we've been tested. Like we used to be tall walls and everything. And then like we used to worship and then Allah like decided to touch them.
Okay. Okay. What do you think, Abdullah? What is fitrah? Every human being is born with fitrah. Then his parents make him a Christian or a Jew. So the innate inclination to believe in Allah, right? What about believing in Allah or believing in Allah? Which one is more accurate? So fitrah means he is already in his heart believing that Allah is the creator. Okay, this is the first opinion. Believing that Allah is the creator. So if you leave him without his parents, without shayateen, without satans, so every human being is going to be a Muslim. And he will be to the masjid by himself. So without the influence of his society, without the influence of his parents, or shayateen or Satan, sometimes it is indirect, he will be a Muslim. Or the other one, it is an inclination. He's not believing in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but when you talk to him, or when the idea of Allah is introduced to him, easily will accept it, and he feels very comfortable with it. Which one think is the fitrah? The first one. Actually, both opinions are within Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah. Some Muslim scholars said every human being is born believing in Allah. Like that Allah is there and he is a super powerful entity that he created him and he must worship him. Now, if he gets misguided, they start worshiping something else. He probably will worship a stick or a stone or a human being or the sun or the moon or something. But that will be under the influence of the culture around him. The other interpretation, which is the majority of the scholars believe that innate, it is an inclination. It's not believing in Allah, but when you talk to somebody and he is free from any biases, he is free from any influence of the culture, when you talk to him, he feels very comfortable with Islam. When you tell him that you're like Allah, all powerful, he created you and you must worship him and you are going to meet him and there is Jannah and Nar, like that makes sense and he feels comfortable. Any other idea will not be relaxing, like a Trinity. And many people like left the Trinity, Trinity, believing in Allah and Jesus and Holy Ghost. So all of these unique ideas will not be relaxing in their heart because they think that it opposes to the fitrah. It's not like fitting very well. Let me give you an example. Like if you hurt your mother or your father, do you feel easy at? Or anyone who did very good to you and you hurt them, don't feel easy about it, right? You feel that there is something wrong. Or you see somebody in front of you, innocent person who was wrong. Somebody who's innocent was jailed or beaten up. Somebody transgressed. You don't, as a human being, you don't feel relaxed. You say there is something wrong. That is the fitrah. Okay? So the fitrah is a mechanism that Allah implanted in our hearts. And a part of it is believing in Allah in the right way. So when the idea of Allah is introduced to you in a good way, then you accept it. And also it is related to other parts of our life. The common sense that we have. Rejection of injustice. Rejection of wrong things. Now Islam is the deen of al-fitrah. You'll find many people come to Islam more than leaving Islam. But there is something inside us that helps us to be good, which is the fitrah. It's very easy. Even those who reject Allah and reject Islam, deeply inside them, they cannot deny the fact that Allah is the creator of everything and He is all powerful. You know the story of Fir'aun claimed to be a god, right? Fir'aun claimed to be a god. قال أنا ربكم الأعلى. He said, I am your Lord, the Most High. What Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, وَجَحَدُوا بِهَا وَاسْتَيْقَنَتْهَا أَنفُسُهُم. They deny it by their tongues, but it is deeply rooted in their hearts. Okay, what Fir'aun, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala described Fir'aun and his group. They deny it by their mouth. They say, no, God, you're like, oh, Musa, what you are talking about? but deeply inside them, they believe that there is a creator who created heavens and earth and they must worship him. That is fitrah. Cannot deny it. They say one of the astronomist, like I guess Russian or somebody, who did not believe in any God. And one time when he was in the space and he saw all of these things, he said, I felt something deep inside me telling me that there must be a creator for all of this huge universe around me. Even the mushrikeen, the idol worshippers at the time of the Messenger ﷺ, they cannot deny this fitrah. Imran bin Hussein, his father, became a Muslim, and he has a nice story. When he came to the Messenger ﷺ, he brought his father, or the Messenger went to visit him, and he said, oh Hussein, how many gods you worship? And he said, I worship 7, 6 on this earth and 1 in the heaven. And the Messenger ﷺ said, okay, now if you have really a serious problem, which God you worship? And he said, the one in heaven. He said, okay. And if you need something really good, like important, he said, I worship the one who is. He said, the other gods here on this earth, they are not benefiting you. So deeply inside them, they must believe there's something very powerful, and we must devote ourselves to him. Do you remember what I mentioned last time about the rise of non-Islamic spiritual? Rise of non-Islamic spirituality. There are some people who don't believe in Allah, okay? And there is a rise, and you are going to school, and there is more and more people who are not believing in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. However, because it is deep rooted in their hearts, they will find something else. Fantasy movies, Lord of the Rings, Harry Potter, other things that, like Superman, Spider-Man, Game of the Thrones. There are all of these popular stories, and believe that somebody has some power that is stronger than humans. That is the call inside him, the call of the fitrah. The call of the fitrah. I would talk to some Christian friends. I would say, okay, you believe that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is God, is the one, and all of that. Finally, after the discussion, I say, but there is no compatibility between what you have in your head, rationally speaking, and what is in your heart and your soul. Because of the Trinity, that is confusing. And many of them say, yes, it is a matter of belief, just we believe in it. We know that logically it doesn't make sense. So we tell them that in Islam, what is in your mind, the rational part of your head, rational part of you, should match what is in your heart, the spiritual part. The fitrah should match your brain, and there is no difference between them. And this is why Ibn Tufail believed that there is no a problem, and there is no contradiction between your soul, your ruh, and your mind. Because your mind will lead you to believe in what is in your heart, and they are fitting together with full compatibility. Okay? Understand what I'm saying? Fitrah is very important, and it helps you with your brain, all of them working together. So the idea that a God that who created us and we are going back to him is matching what we have in our hearts, and we comfortably believe in that. SubhanAllah, even the worst Muslims who are not practicing Islam, tell they believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala very strongly. And when you tell them that any other thing that contradicts with the fitrah, they will not accept that. They will find it strange. They will not be accepting it. Easy to communicate. Can you explain Tawheed to a child? Tawheed, to tell a kid that Allah created and he's all powerful, and very easy to to tell him. قُلْ هُوَ اللَّهُ أَحَدٌ, the meanings, and he doesn't have a father, doesn't have a child. So this is a sign of the fitrah, that you can communicate the Tawheed of Islam, even a child or old literate person. Very easy to communicate, easy to understand, because of the fitrah that Allah implanted in us. Types of Tawheed. Scholars want you to focus on 3 aspects of Tawheed. Number 1, Allah as the Rabb, the Lord, Allah as the Ilah, and Allah who has the beautiful names and attributes. Last time we talked about Surah An-Nas and we mentioned the difference between Ilah and Nas and Rabb and Nas. What is the difference between Rabb, Lord, Ilah, God? أعوذ برب الناس ملك الناس إله الناس. So Allah is described as Rabb, Ilah and Malik. Difference between them.
King and the God. He's king of humans and then the
Okay, So which one is the king, the Lord?
Ilah.
Ilah is can help.
And then Rabb.
Yes? Ilah is the Lord.
And then yeah, Rabb is,
And Rabb.
God.
Which one is connected to the worshipping part? Which one? Ilah. Ilah means the one who is worshipped, God. Rabb, the one who creates, is Lord. Okay, so Rabb al-Nas, the one who created mankind. Then you worship him because he created you. Then you have to worship him. Ilah al-Nas, the one that you worship. So you start usually with Rububiyyah, Allah as a Rabb. Then you end up worshiping him. Why you are worshiping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? You are not worshiping somebody else. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one who created us and he commanded us to worship him. Right? So you start with Rabb, then you end up, you reach the conclusion, then I must worship him. Okay. Malik al-Nas is the king. It is a description. Right? It's a description of this. And this is the third part, which is Allah has the good and beautiful names and attributes. Okay, names and attributes and features. Also in Surah Al-Fatiha, everyone reads Surah Al-Fatiha. Alhamdulillahi Rabb. Here we have Rabb, right? Rabbil Alameen. Then Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim Maliki Yawmiddin. This is another type. Then Iyaka na'budu wa Iyaka nasta'in. So which one is Tawheed of Ar-Rububiyyah? Which one is Tawheed al-Uluhiyyah as Ilah? Which one about the Asma' and the Sifat in Surah Al-Fatiha? Mahir, what do you think? We have the three types. Allah is the one who created and gives commands. Allah should be worshipped. Allah has beautiful names and attributes. So, Surah Al-Fatiha, Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Praise to Allah. What does it mean, Rabbil Alameen?
Praise to
Rabbil Alameen. Alhamdulillah, Rabbil Alameen.
praise to Allah.
Rabbil Alameen. Uthman, what does it mean, Rabbil Alameen?
The Lord of
Okay, Lord of all creatures, all of the world. Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim,
the
most merciful, especially merciful. Maliki Yawmiddin,
king of the
day of judgment. Iyaka na'budu wa iyaka nasta'in.
we worship you and we follow.
Iyaka, you alone we worship and you alone we seek help from. So which one is related to Rabb, Allah as the creator and the one who is running the world, giving command? Which one? Rabbil Alameen, right? Okay, now Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim, Maliki Yawmiddin, which type? Okay, do you agree? Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim, Maliki Yawmiddin. Is it related to God as the Ilah to be worshipped? The one who has names, beautiful names and attributes? Yes. So Allah has a beautiful names, features, descriptions, characteristics. Okay? Names and characteristics. Maybe it will be easier. Attributes. Okay. So this is Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim Maliki Yawmiddin, talking about Allah's description. And Iyaka na'budu wa iyaka nasta'in. Which part of the Tawheed? It is the second one, which is to worship Allah alone. Okay? Ayat al-Kursi. Allahu la ilaha illahu. Which part?
No God.
Okay, which one? Is it Tawheed Rububiyyah or Tawheed Uluhiyyah or Asma' wa Sifat?
Tawheed.
Yeah, no, it's like it's to be.
La ilaha illahu. No God to be worshipped except Him. Allahu la ilaha illahu. Al-Hayy al-Qayyum
The ever living.
is about أسماء وصفات. The majority of Ayat al-Kursi is about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's names and attributes. Are you following me? So when you read these ayat, to be more conscious about what does it mean to you? Okay, what do they mean to you? Okay, Bismillah. A little bit more about the Tawheed al-Rububiyyah. Allah is the one who created. Allah is the one who is running the world. Allah is the one who gives commands, worship. Okay. Last time we talked about Salsul, chains of gods, and we said it is impossible to have chain of gods. A God who was created by another one, who was created by another one, who was created by another one. Right? You remember what is the proof of impossibility? Burhan al-Tamanu. We said this is impossible because imagine a group of people sitting in a circle. Okay, assalamu alaikum. Group of people sitting in a circle, and we say, okay, all of them, you are a group and sitting in a circle, and we say nobody should say anything or do anything until the one who to your left or to your right gives you an order, and you are waiting for the one who is to your left to give you the order, and he cannot do anything because he did not receive an order, so he's waiting for the one who is to his left. Then the one who is his left, is waiting for the next one. So you go back and forth in the circle, and nobody is doing anything because nobody initiated the first order. Okay? So we believe that there is no one but one God, and there is no one before him and one before him. This is a philosophical idea that there's another God who created him, another one who created him, keep going to infinity with no limit. We believe that this is impossible because the world will not come to existence. No one will receive any order. The world will not be created without having somebody. This is Burhan al-Tamanu. Okay. Sorry, this is the Ibtal al-Tasalsul. This is how to prove or refute the idea of chains. We talked also about the Burhan al-Tamanu. We talked about two gods. Possible to have two gods. And we focused on that times. Anyone briefly can remind us? So they would both fight. If there are two gods, somebody wants something to happen, he wants to support this person, and the other one he wants to support that person or support him. So they will fight. They will disagree over everything, every detail in this universe. It is impossible. You disagree with your siblings, with everybody around. Yes. Yes, it is impossible for somebody to be limited, like working here saying, oh, I run this universe and you run like other planets. It's impossible. So that part, God will not have control over this universe, and this universe will not have control over that. So he's limited, and God should be limitless without any limit. Okay. Now listen to this. Idol worshippers. Okay. How did idols start? Kings and queens, then continue.
Kings and queens started saying that I'm like the best one.
Okay. So what happens after that? Continue. That's
they started fighting against each other.
Okay. Then after that.
One day.
One day, showed up and destroyed all the statues.
Okay.
Well, it all starts with like.
It is mentioned in the Quran.
Like,
You hit on it. It is mentioned in the Quran how idol worshipping started. Not directly. We know the names of the first idols. Yes, in Surah Nuh.
Yeah, like.
وقالوا لا تذرن آلهتكم ولا تذرن ود سواع يغوث يعوق نصرا. These are the first 5 idols that are worshipped, and they are mentioned in Surah Nuh. So Sayyidina Nuh came to some people who are worshipping like 5 idols. وقالوا لا تذرن آلهتكم ولا تذرن ودا ولا سواعا ولا يغوث ويعوق ونصرا. So how the Messenger ﷺ explained how idol worshipping started. There were 5 pious good men who were living among the generations before Sayyidina Nuh. Okay, they died. Shaitan, he doesn't come directly to tell people worship them. Shaitan said, make some images of them. Make some images like idols. And they made some idols. And over generations, they started worshiping these idols. You can imagine now, fill in the gaps. You can imagine that in the beginning, they made idols to remember. So Shaitan told them, Satan told them that, devil told them that when you remember them, that will increase your iman. And yes, it did in the beginning. In the beginning, it did. So whenever somebody messes up, then he sees the image of that pious person. He starts comparing himself. He says, oh, I messed up. I should be like him. He's a role model. For me, I messed up. You can imagine that over generations, people started having these idols and they started paying some respect to them. Maybe pausing for a second or contemplating while you are looking at them. Be good. Over generations, people believed in that. You can pull it, I guess, to turn it off, string. I hope that turns off. It's very annoying. Okay, so over generations, people started, valuing them and respecting them more and more, to the point that they started worshiping idols. How do you see the wisdom why Muslims don't make images of God and Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and the statues in general? Because it is a first step, or the first step to lead to idol worshiping. Okay, we are not making images because of that. Now we're talking about the statues, the 3 dimensions that has height and width and depth. Now, 2 images or camera picture, there is a debate between the scholars. And almost everybody agrees nowadays that when you take a picture of somebody, you are not creating something. It is just the image of someone. But the advice is not to hang pictures. Not to hang. Now, am I going to worship the picture of my father if I have it in front of me? No, I'm not. Inshallah. But maybe if it becomes the culture of people over generations, they start worshiping. So 3 dimensions, statues, what we call them statues, are forbidden. There is a wisdom in that when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and His Messenger don't want us to do that. Like in one time in Kuwait, they brought you a new printer. That you go, it was a carnival or something, where you go inside a room and you pause for a few seconds. Then they have very advanced printer, 3 dimension, like a printer. They will make an image of you. Okay, it was carnival. You pay some colors. You go inside and they will make and it is mini. They will make you a mini image or a statue of you. Many people in Kuwait, they say no, this is getting a statue of yourself. Another said this is just for fun. It is carnival. Another said no. It started with carnival, and over generations it will develop into something bigger. Over in Islam we have exceptions for medical reasons. Sometimes they make a statue for the body to see the organs or something, or for kids for their toys. But other than that, no, it's forbidden. But there is another way. So this is one of the ways how people started worshiping someone else beside Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala or instead of Him. There is another way. How shirk would start in the humanity culture, in the human culture. One of them is making statues. The other one, by the way, Jews, they don't make images of God and the Prophet. They don't allow you making images of God. It's in the 10 Commandments. Okay, the second way, exaggeration in loving someone. Exaggeration in loving someone. So loving someone extremely will lead you to worship him. And this is what happened to Christians. The Messenger ﷺ several times, he doesn't want the Sahaba to go extremely in loving him. He doesn't want them to stand up to rise when he enters in. And he said, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, لا تطروني كما أطرت النصارى عيسى ابن مريم. Don't exaggerate in praising me like Christians going so far or exaggerating in loving Isa ibn Maryam, Jesus. What happened to Isa's level? Instead of being a human being, extreme love, what happened? Elevated his position from a human being to that of God. Okay, you see the mistake of Christians, what happened to them? They're supposed to be a human being, but with extreme love, it's dangerous, like extreme hate. So then they went high, praising him, the point that it becomes a God. One of the Sahaba came to the Messenger ﷺ and he said, Ma sha insha'Allah wa shi't. If Allah wills and you. The Messenger ﷺ, did he accept it? He will. And the Messenger ﷺ became very angry. He says, are you making me like a God? say, if Allah wills, and I don't will anything, but if Allah allows me like to do something or to will something. So he was very careful. Mu'adh bin Jabal one time came, the Messenger ﷺ, and he kissed his foot. He was traveling. And when he came, the Messenger ﷺ was riding on something, and he came, and just he bent down and he kissed the foot of the Messenger ﷺ. Did he accept it? He says, no, stop, what are you doing? He said, I came from people who show their respect to their leaders by kissing their feet or bowing down. Some narrations he bowed down. And the Messenger ﷺ prohibited it from that. He doesn't want people to go so much. So two things that will lead to shirk or associating partners with Allah. Number one, images, statues. Number two, extreme love. You know, just something for your life even to help you. Extreme love is dangerous. I had a case when a lady came to me one time and she told me that she was complaining about her husband, that he's negligent and doesn't pay attention. And she told me that she loves him so much. So much. I said, you know, to what extent, like so much? He said, whatever you like he wants from me, I'll do it for him. I love him like extremely so much. I told her that this is, you know, dangerous. I said, this is dangerous. Extreme love is like extreme hate. Do not be blindly like loving him. And what I expected happened. After maybe 1.5 years, they got divorced. They got divorced. She cannot like, she's so much obsessed by her husband. And he is, you know, just normal. Or maybe he's negligent, or maybe he's just normal, but she thought that he is negligent because she has that extreme love. Then that's very dangerous. What is the advice of the Messenger ﷺ in our daily, in our relations? There is an advice from the Messenger. Some others said it is from Ali bin Abi Talib. حبيبك هونا ما عسى أن يكون بغيضك يوم ما. If you love someone, don't love him extremely because he might be your enemy one day. وأبغض بغيضك يوم هونا ما عسى أن يكون حبيبك يوما ما. And if you hate someone or you dislike someone, don't do it extremely because the enemy of today might be your friend in the future. Okay, so extremism is very dangerous. Okay. The last point, I guess, that we should stop here with Tawheed. And next time, we'll talk about the names of Allah and His attributes. The last one is idol worshippers. I'll give you two options and you choose one. People of Quraysh, Abu Jahl and Abu Lahab and those criminals, they believed in Allah as the one who created heavens and earth. Okay? And this is in the Quran. وَلَئِنْ سَأَلْتَهُمْ مَنْ خَلَقَ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضَ يَقُولُونَ اللَّهُ. If you ask them who created heavens and earth, they will say Allah. Sounds good? Number two. So this is the foundations. All Muslim scholars agree upon. Now we have two other views in the details. They worshipped these idols around the Kaaba because they believed that they represent many gods. There are many gods. Yes, they did not create heavens and earth, but they have certain powers. They can harm, they can help, they can do certain things. This is why they worship them. And this is option one. Number two, option two, they worship these idols because they are loved by Allah. And the more you devote yourself to these many idols, they will get you closer to Allah. Because you love them, Allah will love you. I repeat the two options and tell me which one was the practice of the Qurayshi people. The first option is Allah is the main God. Like in Greek culture, like Zeus, the main God. Then you have many gods who have some control, but not control of everything, certain things. They worship them for that reason. Or number two, just because these, many gods, they are loved by Allah. So if we devote ourselves to them, then He will love us. Which option do you think?
First.
Second.
First.
Okay. Two views are among Muslims, but which one is adopted by the majority of Muslims? First one, that these many gods, they have some power. And this is why they worship them. And this is the idol worshipping around the globe. Like in Greek culture, because I guess you studied that there is a main God who is the main God. Then they have other gods who control love, who control war, and etc. God of war, God of agriculture, God of love, God of hate, whatever gods they have and goddesses they have. This is what the Qurayshi people believed in. Okay, this is why they worship them. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Surah Yasin, one of the examples, there are many examples in the Quran, وَاتَّخَذُوا مِن دُونِ اللَّهِ آلِهَةً لَعَلَّهُمْ يُنصَرُونَ. They took some gods beside Allah in order to be supported by them. So they thought that the idols will support them and help them. If somebody opposes their gods, they thought that he will be punished. My God. This narration, funny story, Amr ibn al-As, when he was sent to demolish like Mana, he went there, he started breaking it, he pretended that he faked it up, he faked it up. He pretended that he fell on the ground as dead. People, like around him from Tawheed tribe, they say, yeah, you see, our God, like punished you because you want to destroy him, and he destroyed you. Then stood up while he's laughing, Abdul al-As. He says, it's just a stone. Do you believe really that? And he continued like taking it down. So yes, Qurayshi people and other Arab tribes, they believe that there is a power in these gods, and this is why they are worshipping them. Yeah, they have different types of as we said, they would make sometimes they're gods of dates. Sometimes if they're in the desert, they don't have dates. Oh, if they go hungry, they will eat their gods, that. Or they would bring a camel or a sheep, they will milk it on the sand. When you go to the beach and the sand is wet, you can shape it, right? On the desert, they cannot put water on it. They bring the sheep, they milk a little bit and they shape it, and they start devoting themselves to that god. A part of the Arab culture in the old days. Anyhow, the other opinion says that the Qurayshi people, you remember option number two? Saying that they worship them, believing that they have no power at all. And just by worshiping them, they get them closer to Allah. That love will get them closer to Allah, or they will make God intercede for them before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is a weaker opinion. However, this has implication on Muslims in many ways. Who to consider a Muslim or who not to consider a Muslim. Because some Muslims, unfortunately, and it is wrong, they go to graves and they ask the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam to help them or to make dua. They go to some awliya or some people who are in their graves, and they ask them for certain things. And this is wrong in Aqidah, right? We only ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We don't go to graves to do it. But what to consider those people? To consider them kafir, like the people of Quraysh, or not to consider them? And this is the debate between scholars. This is a little bit advanced, but everyone is has some consequences that impact the Muslim community. Wallahu ta'ala alam. Okay, next time we'll talk inshallah about the names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and his attributes. Let me summarize what we studied today. This is the first stage, the first statements of Al-Aqidah Tahawiyyah. I mentioned the story of Hayy bin Yaqthan. You remember Hayy bin Yaqthan? Anyone can summarize it for those who came late? Yeah, go ahead, Ayan.
The boy's mother threw him away in basket. But threw him away because her brother was a king and he didn't like it. The boy was raised by a deer and he grew up.
So he used his senses and his intellect. So what is the point of the Muslim scholar Ibn Tufail when he authored this novel? This is, according to many, the first novel that was written by any human being. So what was the purpose of this allegorical novel?
To show the good side of it.
Show that the humans are able to conclude that Allah is the one who created us and the universe. Okay? Although maybe a version of it is taken to Jungle Book and Mowgli and Tarzan and Robinson Crusoe. All of them ended up in somewhere. Huh? So okay, so this is philosophical novel by Muslims. We talked also about the Tawheed of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, its meaning, and also the three types of Tawheed: the Rabb, the Ilah, and the Asma' wa Sifat. Tawheed al-Rububiyyah, Tawheed al-Uluhiyyah, Tawheed al-Asma' wa Sifat. Allah is the Rabb, the Lord who created everything. Allah is the Ilah, who deserves to be worshipped, and Allah who has a beautiful name. We did not finish the last part. It is a little bit sophisticated. There are two views within Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah, within Sunni Muslim. And I wish that all of you guys come and attend the class next time, because I grew up in a masjid, people fighting, and still are fighting over the names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If you don't study it in the right way, you end up fighting. And we talked about the fitrah. We mentioned the two views of Muslims concerning fitrah. Summarize Muslims, and this is one time when we mentioned Sunni Muslims, they have madhahib and fiqh, Shafi'i, Hanafi. In Aqidah, in the details, they have madhahib. And today we talked about the fitrah, what does it mean? And we talked about idol worshipping, what does it mean? And Asma' and Sifat, you'll have also different opinions about how to understand the names and the attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Within Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah, there are the details, some opinions in the details that are not covered by the Quran and Sunnah directly. Let us conclude here, inshallah. Thank you for coming, and see you next week, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum.